Not all human beings have the exact same psychological makeup. There is some debate about the classification of the group of personality disorders known as Cluster B personality disorders, which includes antisocial personality disorder and narcissism. I think it is best understood as being on a continuum, from being a very, very empathetic human being, to being a narcissist, then a sociopath, a psychopath, and at the very extreme end of the spectrum, being a psychopath that has literal bloodlust. But the one element everyone seems to agree on, is that the one major difference between normal human beings and anyone on the spectrum of narcissism, is that normal human beings have the capacity to feel guilt, and anyone on the spectrum of narcissism or psychopathy does not. If you had to state the one singular difference between normal people and any of the people with any of those personality disorders, the one difference is that people who are narcissists, sociopaths, or psychopaths do not feel guilt. They do not have the capacity to feel any empathy or love. It has been established that dogs don't feel guilt. There are multiple videos right here on YouTube where the animal behaviorists admit that dogs don't feel guilt. What they fail to add is that guilt and love are inexorably linked. Low guilt means low love. Within each of these two groups of humans, normal humans who have a conscience, and those who do not, there is a spectrum of severity. Now, is the same true for animals? Within the group of animals called lions, for example, are there some lions who can feel guilt and empathy, and a group of lions that does not? Can you think of any animal that this is true for? Or, in the animal kingdom, is it more likely that all of the animals have the same psychological makeup? We can try to answer this question by looking at their behavior. Do any lions carry out their lives differently than any other lions? Are there nice lions and mean lions? Have the good lions developed a justice system where they attempt to hold bad lions accountable for their behaviors and lock them up away from the rest of lion society so that they can't cause any more harm? No, in the animal kingdom, all lions operate in the same way. No lion judges another lion's behavior and deems it amoral. Criminal behavior in humans is normal behavior for animals. That is one of the reasons we are not meant to be living with animals in our homes as family members. Lions do not have a sense of morality. In the animal kingdom, murder and theft are legal. There is no such thing as murder, actually. If a predator animal kills a prey animal, members of the prey group don't call it murder, arrest the animal, and hold it accountable. In fact, predator animals have to eat their prey animals in order to survive. How could it be morally wrong for them to survive? Mother Nature does not call it murder, either. Mother Nature does not give animal lives the same value as human lives. Should we? Human beings are not the natural, intended food source of any animal. There are not some empathetic lions, and some lions that don't feel guilt or have a conscience. Do you need to be able to feel guilt in order to be a good person? Sometimes people wonder, why does a sociopath have to be bad? Can't they just live, not feel any guilt or care about anything, and not do bad things? Well, if you have a sociopath in your life, you will notice that to some extent, this is true. A lot of the time, they are not doing anything bad, but just sit there with a blank look on their face, staring ahead, like a bag of socks. But, they will, without consideration, do something bad if they feel like it, if it serves them, with no conscience to stop them. Have you noticed that when we do something wrong, we say we feel bad? That is our inner wisdom speaking to us. Guilt is a bad feeling, just like stubbing your toe is a bad feeling. It feels lousy, so we actually try to avoid doing the thing again that made us feel lousy, so we don't have to feel that terrible feeling again, just like the memory of previous physical pain stops us from putting our hand on a hot burner. The people with a congenital insensitivity to pain, who don't feel physical pain, have no guide to stop them from hurting themselves, and therefore are constantly injuring themselves. It is a dangerous condition to have. Pain is our guide. Your conscience is your guide to behave better. Without it, you can't be a good person. We hold ourselves to a much higher standard of behavior than animals. Parents do not actually instill a conscience into their children. The child was already born with, or without a conscience. That is why a child can have two sociopaths for parents, and still have a conscience. Likewise, we do not have the capability to instill a conscience into a dog. Normal animal behavior can be a serious crime for a human being. For example, a male lion can enter a group of lions, and kill a mother's cubs, and then mate with the female. If a human male did this, it would be a very serious, heinous crime. Everyone would be horrified. It would be on the national news. It would be documented in our history, and remembered forever by others. But if a male lion does this, it is actually not morally wrong, because they don't have any morals. An act that would be a heinous, serious crime for a human being is normal behavior for an animal. The same is true for our pet dogs. Now that you know your dog actually has no moral sense, how can you continue to want to have a close relationship with it, call it your best friend and companion, or want to keep it at all? By having a relationship with a dog, you are robbing yourself of having higher level relationships with actual human beings, the vast majority of whom actually have a moral sense. Remember, as I explained in the previous video, if dogs had a conscience and a moral sense, they would not learn by training. Training only appeals to the self, with rewards or punishments, not the acquisition of new knowledge. Does an epilepsy service dog actually know anything about epilepsy? Is he interested in epilepsy? Or did he just learn that if he does a certain thing, he gets food? We have lost our wisdom and don't listen to our gut feelings as human beings. Inside, we know certain things, but we are not listening to ourselves because we are brainwashed, and it is easier not to think for ourselves and just go along with the crowd. I will, in another video, explain why it is human nature, not stupidity, to follow the crowd, but it sometimes can steer us wrong. In 2017, in Vancouver, Canada, a man named Rocky Rambo Wainam Kem brutally murdered two people in their home. He is a sociopath. He did not break during a 9-hour police interrogation. 8 hours into the interview, the interrogator said, "Maybe today you're not ready to talk about the whole ugly story, but at least say you're sorry." He replied, "For what?" showing a complete lack of conscience, and even interest in, or comprehension of the case. She replied, "For what? You're an animal," in utter frustration, and left the room. She verbalized what we used to intuitively know, before we stopped thinking and threw out our wisdom as human beings, that we are far above the beasts, who just live according to instinct, and live in the moment to satisfy their needs and desires, and nothing more. We are losing our way if we forget that we are above animals. Many people today say animals are our equals, or even better than us, and they are proud of believing this, and lowering themselves down to the level of an animal, instead of taking pride in being a human being, as we are meant to do. Another saying that illustrates that as humans, we used to have the intuitive wisdom to know that we are far above beasts, is the existence of the phrase "raised by wolves." It was said to refer to someone who behaved in a completely uncivilized and chaotic way. Now, think for a moment, and realize that even if you are presently a dog owner, you in fact, recognized the meaning of those two phrases, even though, having a dog in your home, you don't presently live by the wisdom contained in them. The wisdom still resides inside you, wanting to come out from beneath the brainwashing of present-day society that tells you you should be sharing your life, resources, money, and bed with a filthy animal, rather than a creature on the same moral and intellectual plane as yourself. The only creature that fulfills this is another human being. Every minute you spend in the company of a dog, you are robbing yourself, ripping yourself off, just as a drug addict is ripping himself off every minute he spends in the company of drugs, having a relationship with drugs, rather than with human beings. You deserve better than a dog. Remember, love them like family, feed them like family is a sales trademark created by Blue Buffalo to sell dog food. You actually have no obligation to feed a force-bred scavenger animal like family, for the rest of its natural life, even if you have already made the error of acquiring one. You have no obligation to feed an animal that does not love you back. Not only is it not morally wrong for you to get rid of a dog, and not continue to care for a dog, it's in fact, morally wrong for you to continue to care for a dog, when all of your love, care, and resources should actually be going only to other human beings. Your precious human love is being wasted on a predator animal that is not capable of love. Stay tuned for the next video, where we will explore why love from a dog feels so real to people, sometimes even more powerful than love from other human beings, even though love from a dog does not actually exist at all.